In the heart of Molly village, where the mighty Iroko trees stretch their twisted branches into the sky, there is a legend, passed down from generation to generation. It speaks of a candle, a small, white thing, seemingly ordinary, but with powers that no one truly understands. The villagers say that whoever dares to light the candle beneath the Iroko tree may make a single wish. But there's a warning: the Iroko does not give without taking. For years, the story was nothing more than a bedtime tale for children. Few believed it, and even fewer dared to test it. But, like all stories, it eventually found its way to one who was desperate enough to risk it all. Her name was Kida, a young woman who had nothing. No family. No home. No silver to buy a loaf of bread. She spent her days walking the village paths, looking for scraps to eat, and her nights curled up beneath the Iroko tree, its immense roots a shelter from the cold winds. Every night, she would look up at its massive branches, whispering her dreams to the stars. If only I had something, she would sigh to the night. If only I could stop begging. One evening, as she wandered near the market, an old woman, her back hunched like the twisted roots of the Iroko, her eyes hidden beneath a faded shawl, appeared before her. "You seek more than life has given you," the woman rasped, her voice like the creaking of ancient trees. Kida stepped back, startled. "Who are you?" The woman stretched out her hand, holding a candle, small, white, and warm as if it were alive. "Take this candle," the woman whispered. "At midnight, beneath the Iroko tree, light it, and speak your wish. But remember, you may only ask for one." Kida took the candle, feeling its warm pulse in her hand. The woman's cryptic smile was the last thing she saw before she disappeared into the shadows. That night, Kida sat beneath the Iroko tree, its vast branches weaving dark patterns against the starry sky. She struck a match and lit the candle. As the flame flickered, it shone blue, casting an eerie glow over her face. The wind stopped. The night held its breath. Then, a voice, a whisper, rose from the flickering flame. "What do you desire?" Kida's heart raced. For the first time, she allowed herself to dream. She thought of the long nights of hunger, the shame of begging for scraps, the cold that gnawed at her bones. "I wish for gold," she whispered. The air grew heavy. The Iroko tree groaned as if acknowledging the wish, and the earth beneath Kida's feet began to shimmer. Slowly, golden coins appeared, rising from the ground, piling at her feet. She gasped and knelt down, her fingers trembling as they brushed the gold. She had never seen anything so beautiful. The coin's weight was like nothing she had ever felt. Her wish had come true. She had wealth, more than she could count. But as she stood, stunned, the candle's flame flickered and dimmed, shrinking by a fraction. She felt a strange chill creep down her spine, but the gold in her hands was enough to make her forget. She returned to the village, where people who once ignored her now marveled at her newfound fortune. Merchants offered her silks, and women whispered that she should marry a prince. But as days passed, she realized the gold never seemed to last. No matter how much she spent, it would disappear overnight, as if stolen by invisible hands. The hunger for more began to gnaw at her, a hunger deeper than gold. One evening, with the candle now smaller than before, Kida returned to the Iroko tree. The wind howled in the distance as she lit the candle again. "I wish to be the most beautiful woman in the land," she spoke, her voice trembling with desire. The candle flared to life, its flame growing redder, wilder. The air thickened, crackling with magic. The wind screamed through the Iroko's branches. The earth seemed to tremble beneath her feet. By morning, Kida's reflection in the water had changed. Her skin shimmered like polished ivory, and her hair glowed as if it had been spun from midnight itself. Her beauty was so breathtaking, so radiant, that men fell to their knees at the sight of her. Women wept in envy. Kida smiled. She had everything she had ever wished for. But as she gazed at her reflection, she felt something stark, something dark, something she couldn't quite name. There was a shadow just at the edge of her vision. She turned quickly, but found nothing. The candle, now reduced to a stub, flickered weakly in the corner of her room. The flame was struggling, but still, the wishes had worked. Weeks passed, and Kida's beauty and wealth only grew, yet a restless yearning gnawed at her insides. Something was missing, she realized. She was queen of the world's gaze, but she was still only a shadow of what she truly desired. If I can have wealth, beauty, why not power? That night, under the moon's cold watch, Kida returned once more to the Iroko tree. The candle was now but a stub of wax, barely enough to keep a flicker alive. But she was not deterred. With trembling fingers, she lit it. I wish to be queen of all the lands. The flame flared bright, and the world seemed to shift. The wind howled and the Iroko tree's roots shifted beneath the earth, as though something enormous was waking from a deep slumber. The very air vibrated with the power of her wish. The next morning, messengers from a great kingdom arrived, seeking a bride for their king. Kida became queen. She sat on a throne of gold, her beauty now revered as the world's greatest treasure. The people adored her. But that night, as she sat alone in her chambers, a cold wind crept through the palace halls. The torches flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. Then a voice whispered, so quiet, so chilling, from the corner of the room. Your wishes are spent. Kida's heart stopped. She turned, but no one was there. The voice came again, this time louder, more insistent. The Iroko must take its due. She ran to the mirror, but when she gazed into it, she didn't see her reflection. Her golden hair turned to dust. Her smooth skin cracked like dry earth. The beauty she had once coveted crumbled away, leaving nothing but a hollow, gaunt figure staring back at her. Screaming, she stumbled back. Her breath was shallow, and the world around her swirled into chaos. The Iroko tree's shadow stretched into her chamber, its branches twisting toward her as if to claim its prize. By morning, Kida was gone, and in her place, the Iroko tree stood tall, its back now etched with a face, her face, frozen in eternal silence, her mouth forever open in a scream. The people who once adored her never saw her again. They only whispered of the curse that followed her. Beneath the Iroko tree, in the dirt, sat a half-melted candle, its flame still flickering weakly in the wind. And if you listen carefully on a quiet night, when the moon is high and the wind whispers through the trees, you can hear the candle call. Make a wish, if you dare.